Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome to Render Like Wrightson Part 6. Super detailed inking. So, just some prelim stuff. What do I always say? Camera sits about 3 or 4 inches above the paper, so it's not at a great angle for me sometimes to ink some of the angles that I want to get to. I'm what they call a close inker, meaning I hunch over the page pretty good when I'm inking, and I like to be like right up in it, especially for. Sorry, I'm filling up my ink here real quick. Yeah, so just be mindful that what we're trying to do is we're we're going through the piece and we're just trying to get a bit of a facsimile of what Bernie may have done. I'm not an authority on Wrightson stuff. I don't know exactly how he approached this, but it seemed like something fun to do. We'd been having some conversations about Bernie's work here, and it just kind of naturally evolved into this. So what I thought I would do today is I'm going to work in this area right here for about 25 minutes, and yeah, we'll just kind of go for it. I'm using a Hunt 102, which is not the tool that Bernie used. The ink that I'm using is a combination of Eon Black Vortex and it's just called Ultra Draw Rapidograph ink. We'll see how it goes. This is my nib from yesterday. You can already tell it's too thick. It's got a bit of a thicker tip than what I'm gonna need to probably get the detail that I want to say. I'll try a few lines with it and see how it goes, though. So yeah, we've been kind of plucking away at this a little bit each week, and I don't want it to get boring, so I keep kind of thinking, like, when is the hopping out point? Like, when do we stop? But people seem to enjoy it, so it's fine. I mean, look, there's so much time to do other stuff, so it's not like something that we need to worry about, like I do this and I'll never touch on other stuff. What was I gonna say? Give me 1 sec, I just want to concentrate on this. My cats are already starting to be jerks. I may have to lock them out. We'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, people had asked about other video series I had started, like the framed ink one in particular was one that I saw just recently. Yes, I will get back to that. What ended up happening is I was doing 7 videos a week. I was basically doing one each day, and it was getting to be, I think, a tiny bit too much. And I'm actually going to use a straight edge for this line right here. I can see little spots where Bernie may have used a straight edge. It's what you would call it, like you could argue one way or another, but I'm just gonna set myself up for at least this line to be pretty straight, and then the one on the other side. I should have actually done this one first and then that, but because I'm narrating, sometimes stuff I don't always work exactly how I should. It can get a little sort of jumbled. Yeah, there's little spots where I can see where it looks like maybe Bernie set down maybe one line. It was a guideline, and again, that's just my own interpretation of what I see. I don't see it very much, but occasionally I'll see like one line. I'll go, looks like that might have been his guide. Sort of like you send that one out, and then you're able to freehand. Everything goes around. I might have to shut my sliding door here. There's someone like cutting apart a tree. Everything works against me on YouTube. No, that's not true. Yeah, I don't know how loud you can hear it, but it's like, hey, Rich is filming, quick, let's make frickin' a ton of noise. That was what went through their mind, honestly. I'm gonna shut this. So what else? I'm 3.5 pages away from finishing my gnarly deadline, and then I'll be back doing 4 videos a week. Sorry, I just hit the camera thing. That's how close it is to my head, though. I moved my hand barely and I smacked it. But yeah, I have 3.5 pages left, so I'm really looking forward to being done with it. It's like, it was a lot of work. There's really, the easiest page I think took like almost 8 to 10 hours. So they've been grinders. I'd say the pages have been averaging about 13 to 15 hours. And kind of ready for something different. It wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't like you have to do it every single day. Because I don't mind working 7 days a week, but I don't normally work that long of hours inking, if that makes sense. Like, if I ended up putting a 13-hour day, it would be like, you know, half inking, half penciling, or, you know, that kind of idea. But yeah, when you get up and start inking at 8 o'clock in the morning and at 9 o'clock at night you're still working, that's a long day of just doing one thing. And then doing it 7 days a week is like... So, you know, I mentioned this in the other videos too, but I you know, people pop in at all times and don't always watch the other videos. I create playlists. So if you go to just click my name and then look at playlists, you can actually see this whole series, quote unquote. And then also, you know, my intention isn't to do an exact replica of this piece. It would take too long. It could totally be done, but I don't have that much time on YouTube to do it. So it makes more sense to, yeah, see, this is going to be hard with the camera in front of my face because I have a real steady hand, but I mentioned this in the last video. I'm sitting way, way farther away from the piece than I normally would. And I'm also not squatting. I'm sitting up straight, and I would normally like lean down and get right on top of the page and use my full arm to do these lines, whereas you can see I'm kind of like scratching them in. Hopefully I'm in camera frame. But yeah, I mean, you want to work on your control, and you'll like, I don't know how it would go for people beside myself. I can't really, like, I can't get into your head and your level of natural ability and then what it takes to have a real steady hand. My suggestion would be is to practice drawing like straight lines and stuff like that and freehand circles and just see like how good or bad you are at it, and then just try to do it. Maybe like have it as 15 minutes of your day if you feel that you need to work on it, and then over time it'll get better. But yeah, it's a tough call. This paper is going to crumble under these lines because I need to do these a little thicker. But I always have had pretty good control, but I did practice it a little bit too, you know, and then I think just experience, you know, helps too. It always, like, I've mentioned this before. The second I hit record on my camera, one, the screen gets darker, and two, it pulls in tighter. I don't know if that's just a like cell phone camera function. This camera shoots pretty good, but yeah, I mean, it's like it always looks darker and more heavy-handed than it actually is. So it's kind of weird. Like when I see it on the screen, I'm always like, eh. And it gets kind of yellow lately. I don't know what that's all about, but so we've talked about this before. Wrightson doesn't delineate a lot of the contours, so whereas when you ink comic book stuff, at times you may sort of go and do outlines of stuff, this style doesn't really have that, and so it's as tempting as it is to go in and create your like the process that you're moving through this to move that direction. You don't want to, and those are real thin lines. I just threw like 4 lines in that little spot, and I don't know, like I can't pull in on the camera right now because if the autofocus could mess it up. But I mean, those lines are about as thin as this pen could get, and those are actually the more forgiving lines with these tools, is the really thin ones. Where the paper, the pen, and the ink can sometimes struggle is if you need to do something a bit thicker. Because now you're dragging the tool across the page and actually kind of like tearing it a bit more. And I mean that in a good way, not like ripping, but I mean you're tattooing the ink into the actual paper itself. But yeah, this has been really fun. It's kind of like a friend that I keep revisiting. I'm like, hey, what's up, buddy? Remember me? We talked last week. Um, and like I mentioned before, with this type of work, you know, you want your follow through to be real consistent, and as long as you keep everything, because see, that was so dark on the camera. I'm dying to pull in close. I'm telling you, that's like 20 rows of lines, and on the camera it reads as just one big black blob. I assure you, it's not. Like I said, I'll snap a photo of this and put it on my Patreon, so you can actually see like a detailed shot when I'm done today. So, but yeah, it's weird. I wish. I'll have to look into like some. I'm gonna try to, like, after this deadline, I'm gonna get some different bulbs for my office. And if you have any suggestions of good light bulbs for, like, I have 2 desk lamps that sit above my desk, one on the left and one on the right, to sort of eliminate some shadows. But yeah, if you have any good suggestions of fairly bright lights that might cast a better type of light on my desk, I would appreciate it. Like, you know, even though I'm a professional and, you know, I do a lot of stuff, I definitely don't know all this stuff, and I'm always needing to learn more. And if anything, because I work so much, I don't have time to experiment as much as maybe somebody who has more free time, you know? So it's like my hours are, you know, inking chainmail on death strokes, but not literally. He doesn't wear it down there. There are characters that, it's funny though, bringing up Deathstroke though, is there's some characters that their costumes are very like time consuming to do, and you know, when they go like, hey, do you want to work on like da da da, you're like, oh man, not that costume, I hate that thing. No, but Deathstroke, they mellowed it out a bit because I think the old version was kind of more of a pain in the butt. Had some lines kind of drift in here a little bit. Again, looks very, very dark and almost like black on the camera. Like I said, this is not. There's maybe like 10 very, very thin lines that are all sitting right next to each other on that spot. So just take my word for it that it actually reads as multiple lines in person real easily. And it creates maybe about a 65% dark gray heading towards black. So that, you can think about it like that. If that reads black on the camera, I'm telling you, that's like at the most a 70% gray in person. And that's really what these lines are doing. It's the thinness and the spacing of them creates value. So that's what when I'm doing this, that's what I'm really paying attention to, is how thick is the line, how close is it to the next line, and then what's the form that I'm working over. You know, and like Bernie does the heavy lifting on it. I mean, in terms of like me doing some sort of interpretation of the inks, it's by far much, much easier than what he had to navigate through to actually lay out these pieces, you know, and consider everything that goes into it. We get to see the finished result and just basically work over it. It's you know, much, much more simple. So, you know, trust me, I don't, I'm not aware of that, if that makes sense. Yeah, lots of just beautiful, beautiful textures throughout these pieces. And you know, if you're into this, please share it for me. You know, I've mentioned before, I built my YouTube channel on YouTube, and although I do rarely I'll sort of plug it on other social platforms, I generally don't. And it's just one of those things where I felt like the strength of the channel would be based on people that enjoy YouTube and spend time on YouTube, rather than just ushering your fans from one spot to another, because you could easily do that. I could run a DeviantArt and just constantly be plugging this, and then have all the people from DeviantArt come over here that would maybe check it out and subscribe. But what you want is a balance of people that actually follow the channel, but are viewers, that are really, really engaged in the thing and want to have a conversation. And that's what it's all about to me, is it's a community, So I really, really appreciate the people that support the community that I kind of put together here. Our little grassroots, like learning and adventuring through art, because there's so much fun stuff to check out. And anyone that's followed the channel for a little while knows like how much of a music fan I am. And during the day when I'm trying to kind of take a break from focusing on art 100% of the time, I'll do a lot of music type YouTube stuff, and I learn a lot from it, because they're talking about things that I'm interested in and have followed just as long as I've followed comics, if not maybe even a little bit longer. And I can just transplant that right into my ideas for the YouTube channel, where I go, yeah, this guy's passion for music is just killer, and he's going back and he's revisiting this old stuff, and he's putting a level of importance on this, or bringing this to light, and it's cool to have that variety and the appreciation of not only what's going on now, but like something like this that went on 40 years ago, but is a really important thing for people that are interested in drawing to be aware of. And a lot of people have said, I didn't know Wrightson stuff. I mean, it's so cool to think that they caught it here, and now they're going to be checking out Bernie, and then they might go and check out Franklin Booth. And someone was sending me a picture that they had picked up the Frankenstein book when they were out and about. They saw it at I don't know if it was a convention or something, but that's cool, man. So we're spreading the word on Bernie's stuff to a new generation. And I was a new generation at one point. I'm telling you, when I got to Wildstorm, the one eye-opener that I had in the first few months was, you'd have someone bring in a book and go like, have you ever seen this? And you're like, what is this? They'll go like, this is like da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, oh my God, I have to get that book. And, I think that's, it's so fun, and it's such a cool thing. So I have the opportunity to at least show you some of the older stuff that I picked up. I miss being in a studio for that. That's one of the main reasons I miss being in a studio is the exposure that I got to a variety of stuff that maybe I wouldn't have found on my own, And I'm really, really experimental and adventurous when I go to a bookstore or comic book store, for that matter. I've talked about this before, but I would look through every single new comic that came out when I go to the comic book store. I give everything a look, and if it looks interesting and there's enough pages in it that sort of catch my interest, I will buy it. And so I've found a lot of really interesting artists like early in their career based on that. Like they have a little bit of an X factor to their work. Man, it looks so dark on the camera. It looks like shit. It doesn't in person, I assure you, like I said. Hopefully it sucks it's so dark. I'll have to look in my settings on this camera and see if there's something I can do to adjust the actual recording darkness, because I don't know why it looks so dark. But yeah, and some of them I even tried to get work at Wildstorm early on, and I won't say the names now, but a couple of them I was way ahead of the curve on them, and they're very, very popular artists now that have done great things. And I would bring them to an editor or someone and be like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, can we try to get this person work? And they'd be like, nah. It's like, all right, I see something in them that you clearly don't, and it's nice to be sort of validated on that. And they were doing good work back then too. It's not like totally deserved a chance at the very least. And this is a funny example too, is Gerard Way. So Gerard Way, the writer of Umbrella Academy and sang in My Chemical Romance. So I met him with Jim Lee when they were touring with Linkin Park, and we hung out with him before the show, and he brought these sketchbooks that he had done when he worked at Vertigo as a copy boy. He would make photocopies and stuff like that. And I don't know why they did not hire him based on what he had in that sketchbook. I would have given the guy a shot in a second, and they sat on it and didn't do it. I mean, obviously it ultimately worked out well for him, but, you know, I said to him, I go, dude, if I worked at DC or Vertigo and I saw this, I would so put you on a book. I would so have spent time building this guy up, you know, to be ready for more work. He had a really, really interesting style. He had some Batman samples that he had done, and like designs for all the characters that were different, and it was really, really cool stuff, with a ton of potential. I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't fully arrived at like where it would be, but you know, those are the people that need that little push, that little helping hand to get over the hump. And I'm empathetic and sympathetic to that, and I think that's why I try to encourage people to really push and go for things, because a lot of times you actually do have it, you know, and people aren't going to acknowledge it, and they're not going to let you in. It becomes exclusive and not inclusive. This channel is inclusive. I believe in everyone, but you have to do the work. It won't be given to you. But you want to always have the competitive edge and a drive to improve and to show your work, you know. If you don't show your work, you're missing part of the process. I lose track of time when I'm doing this. So it's 21 minutes. All right, so we'll go for like 5 more minutes. I always say that, and then we'll probably go 30 minutes. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. This book looks kind of funny. Come on, the book. Trying to think of what else is going on. Oh, I've been watching some movies. I started watching Coco. I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but it looks great. The grandmother's super cool looking. Man, at the beginning of the movie, I love the way that they designed her. Her face is awesome. Looks like me when I haven't had coffee. Like, help me. Yeah, I saw Dunkirk. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it was cool. The plane stuff was really neat. Like the airplanes flying over the ocean. But the opening scene, I don't want to do a spoiler, but it was really interesting how they like led into the movie. I like that. It was like, whoa, what's going on? So that was pretty epic. I started to watch, I think, was it called War of the Planet of the Apes? I don't know. I saw a later scene. When I first put it on, I was like, oh man, this looks pretty killer. They might have done too many monkeys. That's my kind of, I think that it's like less is more. Like they showed so many that it's like they didn't really do themselves a favor with, like, I think having that many. I don't know. I haven't seen the whole movie, but I couldn't get into it. It was like I was fighting through the CG, and I think, you know, that's the problem of seeing it at home versus seeing it in the movie theater. Is even though I watch it on a huge TV and HD and all that, but it's just like, I don't know, maybe in the movie theater it looks better, but it kind of. If anyone has any good suggestions for shows on Netflix, though, I'm thinking about like plowing through a series. I haven't seen anything, and when I say that, I'm not actually even kidding. So, I mean, you could go back even probably like 5 years if it's still up. But I want to check out something. Like, I've never watched Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Stranger Things. I haven't seen any of those shows. I did watch the first Punisher. But yeah, it was like, I just don't have time. I don't have time to watch TV. But sometimes I think that that's a good thing, because it means that I'm focused on work. And I think taking breaks is good, though. But there's a lot of new series on Netflix right now, too. I also have Amazon Prime. So if there's anything good on there. I am going to watch Toys That Made Us. They uploaded a second season. I did watch the first season of that. That was actually really fun. But I started watching the Star Trek one the other night, and then I was like, I'll put it on while I work. It'll be good background noise. So in this area here, he's got like three, he does like little rows of three, and then a thick one. And again, none of this stuff I'm filling in full black. It's really, really close, but not. It's probably like a 95% black. There's like little anomalies, and I will leave little gaps between the lines, just the tiniest bit. Give it a little bit of room to breathe. It's kind of got like a bit of a seam right here on the book, like where the edge of it wraps over. It's got a little bit of a curve to the line, and it's a little thicker. And this is interesting. There was like a little edge there, but it matches the lines in the background, so it could have just been an extraneous line that sort of went down, but I'm just gonna follow what he did here. Again, thicker lines, and then the spacing between them is getting tighter and tighter. It creates a bit of a fade. We should have done a line count for this piece. A little counter in the corner for every like line I threw. Someone go back and count for me. Please don't. I don't. Some with OCD's like, I'll do it for you, Rich. Okay. A little bit more here. Okay, and then I got to get to work. So we did a decent section though today. All right, so let me pull the camera out of the thing. I'm going to just take my nib here for a sec. Or you know what? I'm going to finish this decanter thing right here. That'll bug me. I'll watch the video back and go like, why didn't you finish that, Rich? So he's got a little thicker row lines right here. It's small. And these are all kind of equal weight, very thin. Go up to here. More spacing between these, the wider space. Now it starts to get tighter. Then these lines start to get thicker. And although this almost reads as black in here, I'm going to take it to about like a 90, 91. Scott Robertson talks about this with markers, that you need to be able to train your eye to see value and to be able to kind of equate a number to it. So it's something you may want to check out, the Scott Robertson Gnomon DVDs. I'm by no means an expert on his teachings, but I've dabbled in them, and I definitely agree that you need to be able to make distinctions of value, but then even out of context, because it's almost like color, and we'll just talk about value. So value can be deceiving because it's relative to what it's next to. So something may look lighter or darker. You can do it with a color picker in Photoshop to test your values. This will start here, but yeah, you'd be surprised. Like something that reads white to you could actually be even like a 15% gray, but because something next to it is much darker, it reads as a different shade of gray. It's all right, kitty. I'll feed you guys in a minute. I'm almost done. Again, no edge here. The edge is going to be created by these lines. As tempting as it would have been to put that line in, that's not how you would do it. Okay. Oh wait, hold on. Some lines right here. And I'm gonna do this right here. Okay, so I hope that there was some helpful advice in the video. I'm going to pull the camera out of the thing. We'll pull back on this, get a fuller view of what we got going on. Let me autofocus here for a sec. Okay, let's do this. Again, it reads dark on the camera, but I'll snap a photo of what we got going on. But I mean, you could see, so we've done, we've done six to 8 installments of this. Although this is part 6. There was 2 that I called like troubleshooting complicated things. But so technically we're probably 30, or well, hold on, we'd be 4 hours into this piece. So that's about how much work you can get done in 4 hours. And this is a small chunk of this full 2-page spread that Wrightson did, by the way. So, I mean, I'm guessing that the piece probably took him a few hundred hours. All right, smash the like. Check out my Patreon. And, yeah, thank you for tuning in. I hope this is fun to watch, and I hope you gained some knowledge. All right? And believe in yourself, because other people sometimes won't. And then you know what? You smash your art and get really good at it, and all of a sudden, they're going to be your best buds. All right? Do it. Do it for me and do it for you. Do it for yourself, mostly. All right? Have a good one. Bye.